Pretty legendary run for Michigan men's basketball. We've got a Michigan legend to talk about it after Michigan disposes of Villanova on Tuesday nights. And Tim McCormick is here. Tim, can't thank you enough for making the time. Been a fun go for Michigan, huh? How are you enjoying all this?
I'm enjoying it, Brian, but tonight was completely unacceptable. Only winning by 28. I'm not scoring 100 points. Come on, guys. Obviously, I'm kidding. I'm overwhelmed with the domination that this team has shown, the excellence, the balance, the way they play basketball. There aren't many things to complain about. And I certainly anticipate there will be some tough games down the road, playing at Michigan State, playing at Illinois, playing at Purdue. They're not going to go undefeated. There are going to be some bumps, but we also have to celebrate them so far, 9-0, number one in most of the key determinants of college basketball excellence. But I also think that they're in a position, they're going to get a lot better too. So it's been a fun journey.
The fact that they've had the success they've had inside the arc. They came in second nationally in terms of field goal percent from two offensively, and first in terms of defense by, I think it was 2.5% over Duke. And that just showed up yet again from the start. It just feels like such a sustainable model, doesn't it? Right? Like a team can get hot from three, and that can be dangerous. But what Michigan's doing from two just feels like they can repeat it over and over and over.
Well, there's a lot of really subtle things that they do. Obviously, being able to switch all pick and rolls is so tough to beat. And everybody on this team is switchable except for Adai, and he is a force in the paint. He doesn't need to switch. I don't want him to switch. I want him staying right in the paint. Brian, I was at Michigan's practice last week, and I was really curious on what are they working on. Everything has clicked so far, and Dusty May was really hammering home the point. Our transition defense is not good. It's got to get better. If we're going to contend, we've got to have better transition defense. And then Rutgers scores 0 fast break points. And tonight in the first half, only 2 fast break points for Villanova. Things got a little bit sloppy at the end, and I understand why. But if a coach has a mandate and says, this is what we're going to do, these are the drills we're going to work on, and it's a concerted effort and the team responds, that, my friend, is a really good sign of winning basketball.
And I can tell you from being in the locker room after the game, and hey, we're going to have Akeem Miskdeen, Michigan assistant, coming by here in about 5-10 minutes. We'll take your questions, comments here with Tim as we go along. We'll go up until a little bit after 10 o'clock on this soon-to-be snowy night in Southeast Michigan. But there were several guys who were going over to the PDC to shoot free throws. And that's the one thing, right? When you're always looking for something to push a team like Michigan is playing right now. But 14 of 25, that will not be acceptable. And the fact that this team seems to live by the theory that, hey, the standard's the standard. We're not going to play to the scoreboard. We're not going to play to the record, to the opposition. And they're going to try to exploit issues. And this one will be one that they're going to harp on between now and Saturday, won't they?
Yeah. And when I went to practice, I believe it was on Thursday, I stayed after and I watched all the players. They walked into the weight room, but one guy stayed after, and it was Adai Mara. He was with a manager, and he went to the south basket and just shot free throws for about 45 straight minutes. And he was making everything. And one thing that I learned from my basketball career is that when you're lacking confidence, you shoot with less arc and you shoot a line drive off of the back rim. I would imagine of the 11 missed free throws, that 8 of them hit back iron, and that's a bad sign. Brian, I was thinking about the fact that I first watched my very first Michigan basketball game was in 1972. That was C.J. Kupek and Henry Wilmore and Campy Russell, and I was mesmerized and fell in love with Michigan basketball. I say this without hesitation. This is the best stretch of basketball. The domination, the defense, the unselfishness, the toughness that I have ever seen. 89, they won a championship. There have been plenty of Final Fours. This is the best stretch of basketball from Michigan that I've ever seen.
And Terry Mills has said as much. He said, I forget if it was on or off the air, but he feels like he is being taken back to some of those times in 1989 and even the 89-90 team in terms of just how many points they scored. And he's thinking back to some of those great memories because it's tough to enjoy it and soak it all in when you're in the moment. But, you know, when you have a chance to look back, not just at your career, but also support the team, that's certainly a way that you can do it. And a guy who I know is not allowing himself to get too bogged down with all people telling him how great everything's going and how awesome everything is Akeem Miskdeen. He's going to join us here momentarily. We will have him here on the show. Let me ask you this though, Tim, before we get to him. Defensively, what makes this Michigan team so impressive to you?
There are three components that I think great defensive teams have. Number one, they contain the drive. They don't allow anybody in the paint. I mean, we know that that's a strength because you don't go a whole game and have a 30-2 advantage in the paint. The second thing is you contest shots, and Michigan is world class in that area, and they are all buying in where you don't even have to try to block the shot. Just give the hands up in the air as a distraction. That throws guys off. The third component is the communication. And I don't think they're very good at that yet, at least in terms of how they could become. But they're trying really hard. Will Cheddar, he's an all Big Ten caliber communicator. And I think he's the standard bearer that's going to set a really good example for all of the young guys. When you do those three things, you can win games just on the defensive end. And when you imagine the fact that at some point Michigan's going to play a game in the 60s, maybe it's at Wisconsin or Illinois or Purdue, and the fact that with 3 minutes to go in a tied game, Dusty is going with Yaks and a die and with clearly you're gonna go with Merez Johnson. Those three guys are not going to let you get to the paint, and you're going to have to make contested shots. So I love the direction of their defense.
Well, a key part to all of this joins us now, and that's Akeem Miskdeen, who is with Brian and Tim McCormick. Akeem, what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
Doing great. Where does your mind go first from tonight's 89-61 win?
Went straight to Ohio State, was playing Illinois, so we were watching that in the coaching staff locker room and watching some other games. I know I think Florida plays UConn, so just watching some other games, just trying to get familiar with other teams. Then I'll watch some film later on tonight. I'll watch the game and see what I see and clip up some stuff for the guys and for our staff.
We'll go back and forth, but Tim, fire away with questions for Coach Miskdeen.
Team, congratulations. I'm so excited to know how hard you guys are working. I don't see any major flaws with this team. What's the area that you most want Michigan to improve as you get closer to more meaningful games in December?
Offensively, I think we still have to continue to make shots. We didn't shoot the ball great tonight. We have some open looks, so we have to make some shots. We have to make our free throws. I heard you talking about late game situations. You know, we're so good defensively, and we're going to get fouled. So we have to make our free throws, and we got to continue to get the ball to. We always say get the ball to the red zone, and that means get the ball up the court quick and try to get the ball to the other side of the floor on offense. On defense, we got to still clean up our transition defense. I know our defense is rated #1, but we still have some flaws. We gave up a couple transition threes where we didn't get matched up. So we got to clean up that. And I thought we did a good job rebounding, but we got to make sure we continue to do that defensive rebound.
Something you told Terry Mills at halftime on our radio broadcast was the Devin Askew 15 points in the first half. That had to change, and he only had 3 points in the second half. What flipped in that regard, and how important is that for your team to be able to diagnose an issue in the first half and try to correct it as quickly as they did?
Well, before the game, our whole theme was we can't give up threes, and we knew he was a great shooter. We did a bad job. We didn't press up on him. we wanted to make him drive. So we did a bad job of doing that in the first half. In the second half, we did. And even later in the first half, we got better at it. We made him make a couple dribble moves as opposed to catch and shoot some threes. Almost every player in the country is really good at catching and shooting, but he wasn't great at off the bounce. So we challenged our guys to press up on them and make them bounce it and make them drive it to, Adai, to Maris, to Yaks. And I think our guys did a good job of that. And on the second half, he had an amazing three-pointer where he sprinted to the right wing, and that was just a tough shot he made.
Coach, I'm so impressed with Yaks. He's probably the headliner, but I don't see a star go-to guy on your team. What are the advantages of having 8, 9 different guys that could all take over for stretches?
Yeah, it helps you not focus. The other teams got to prepare for multiple guys. You got to go through a whole scouting report with our guys. You got to go through 9 or 10 guys. You got to talk about Will Cheddar. He could shoot. And that's tough for a team to try to remember every single guy that we have. So that makes it hard for other teams when you can't just focus on one guy. You can't focus on Yaks because L.A. Cadeau might get 16. You can't focus on Amari because Will Cheddar may come off the bench like he did in Vegas and get 12. So that makes it really challenging if you're another defensive team.
Will Cheddar hit that 3-and-1 with 7:58 to play in the first half. And at that moment, 12 minutes, 2 seconds into the first half, every player in the rotation, 9 guys, had at least 2 points. How much of that is just who you guys bring in, and how much of it is fostered over the relationship building in the summer, now into the fall, now into these battles? Because this doesn't just come out of nowhere, the unselfishness that Dusty May has called your team's cheat code.
Yeah, I mean, that's our culture. That's the culture Coach May, our staff, and our team have created. I tell everyone all the time, like, this team really loves each other. They want to see each other have success. So when a team wants to see their brothers have success, they're going to share the ball. So our biggest thing, let's make the right play. And sometimes the right play may be going to score. Sometimes the right play may be when you get stopped, kick it out. So that's our biggest thing. So we want to share the wealth. Like, let's really share. And that's what we've been doing really well.
Coach, nobody expects to have 5 straight blowouts with the competition that you've had. Have you guys as a staff taken a step back and just kind of laughed about it? Said, I can't believe how good our guys are playing. Have you just relaxed at any point and said, this is pretty amazing? Because we're all saying it. Yeah,
I mean, we do, but the time that if you do it too much, then you can't prepare for the next one. So we do it and we laugh, and you guys are around us. We're really a close knit staff. We joke around a lot, but when it's time to get serious, we're serious. Like, we're already on to, like, man, we're gonna have some good clips from this game, because it was a lot of stuff that we could have done better. So we're already talking about the clips that we're gonna pull for this game to show the team, and we got to get ready for Maryland. So the time that you get excited about it, man, we're winning this game and that game, then you lose track of the overall theme of what we're trying to accomplish.
And yeah, I mean, Villanova outscores Michigan 38-36 in the second half. I know that's something that this program takes pride in, of not playing the scoreboard. And for a while, it looked like Michigan had a chance to make this another 40-point win. There were some frustrations about that down the stretch. And that doesn't mean you can't learn from it and grow from it and still, celebrate a win briefly. But those are great teaching points, especially for guys like Winters Grady, Oscar Goodman, Malik Cordell, guys who, this time last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Akeem, but I think at least 1 or 2 of those guys would have been really competing for real playing time. It's just a different roster last year to this year.
Yeah, we got a lot of depth. But we won. You asked me this earlier today, how can we sustain it? Like, when we sub those guys in, we want those guys to be just as good as the guys that are starting and that are playing heavy minutes. And you saw it when we we got a little tired in the first half, and we subbed some of our benching, and they took it to a whole nother level. And we want those guys that are in the game the last 4 or 5 minutes, we wanted them to take it to another level too. And tonight they didn't, and we'll learn from it, and we'll get better.
I think that point guard play is the number one key for this team. I watched Elliot Cadeau play a lot last year at North Carolina. He's improved immensely. I think LJ Kaysen playing the backup point is your most improved player. I understand a big man mentality, but how have you gotten those guys to value the ball and be able to run the offense? Because it's really showing positively.
Just showing them a lot of film and getting a ton of reps in practice and making them run some stairs. No, I'm joking. But no, they're really good players, and they come in to work on their game, to watch film a lot. before each game, they watch the ball screen coverage. So they're in depth about watching film, and they talk to one another and they help each other out. Elliot's doing a good job of mentoring LJ as well. They're doing a good job. Hopefully we can continue valuing each possession, because if we get shots up at the rim, we'll at least rebound 37% of our misses. Hopefully we can get to 40, and at the rim we shoot so good. So if we can keep valuing our possession, we'll be tough to beat.
That was one aspect that just really stood out from the start. You're facing, the top rebounder statistically in college basketball, Duke Brennan, who came in averaging 6.3 offensive rebounds a game. He had 6 total rebounds plus 20 on the glass. What'd you see from the rebounding aspect in this ball game to be as statistically dominant? And it felt like that played out when you were watching the game.
Yeah, I mean, our guys take pride, and I think our superpower is our focus in our preparation. Our guys take really pride in taking and canceling guys out of the game. We did it with Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a big guy. Our bigs take pride in that. So Marez Johnson, Adamaro, Yaxel, they did a good job of blocking them out, and our guards rebounded down. So our guys take pride in it, and they knew that was a way that they can beat us. Coach May and Coach Church did the defensive scout. Ways that teams get upset is, teams make threes, teams go to offensive glass. That's 2 of the biggest ways, and this team had that, and we just took them out of it.
Akeem, I remember playing against the Celtics and the Showtime Lakers and the Pistons and the Bulls, and the separator for those teams, they almost got a little bit of a swagger, like we know we're better than you, we're going after you. I'm seeing some of that from this team. They're really building confidence. Do you see that developing? Is that something you talk about?
Yeah, we talk about edge all the time. This team they have some edge. That's what the guys talk about. And some of that's just, from Marez, from Elliott. Those are 2 guys, when they're on the floor, I think we're like 0.5, 0.6 defensively when they're out on the floor. They bring a different type of edge to our team, and our guys come with them, and those guys carry our guys to having that edge.
Tim, I have 1 or 2 this team questions. Do you have anything else about the team before I ask a couple non-Michigan related questions to Coach Akeem?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Brian and we're not living in the present. We know there's a game Saturday. What do you know about Maryland? Because I know that's the big goal, is to win a Big Ten championship, and going on the road in conference is tough.
Yeah, Maryland's a historic program. One unique thing we always do, we educate our guys on the programs. So, when in Villanova, when we played Gonzaga, we educated them on Gonzaga. When we played Villanova, we educated them on Villanova. We're going to educate them on Maryland. Buzz Williams is a heck of a coach, one of the best coaches in the country. His program is going to have success, whether it's sooner or later. And one thing is they have for real pain. And we remember him from the tournament. He kicked our butts. So we got to let our guys know, like, they got a really physical presence down low. Let's see how we take care of that matchup.
You mentioned you're going to go and watch some games. What fascinates me is just how much basketball you and all the guys on this staff take in. So when you're watching, say you're watching a game involving 2 teams that are not on the schedule this year, what are you watching for? What mental notes are you taking? Not saying, hey, I don't want to tell you what play you're going to steal from somebody, but just how do you analyze a game where it's not a guaranteed direct result or way to scout a team that you'll have later down the line?
Well, the good thing is it's not like football, but it's kind of, we have groups where I'm helping Dusty with offense. Coach Drew is helping Dusty with offense. Coach Church is helping with defense. JJ and Mike Borden are all helping with defense. So when I'm watching the game, I'm probably trying to steal some stuff that other teams are doing against that team. If Ohio State's playing, I'm trying to see, okay, what is Illinois doing offensively that we can steal from. And I'm also watching little stuff like, if guys are shooters, just getting to know their team, because, it's the portal era, so you don't really know everybody. So that's one reason why we watch a lot of these games. So you're watching to see, Illinois has a freshman that we haven't seen, so now we know about them. So that's some of the stuff I'm watching. And when I'm watching other games, like teams like Florida and UConn, hopefully we'll see them down the line. So I want to have at least a glimpse of what they do. And it helps us in places like Vegas, right? So we
That
watch
was
too much
crazy.
basketball that we
Yeah.
kind of know what a lot of these teams do. And thank God we got a West Coast guy, so can help
I
us.
mean, you got a guy on staff who spent a decade saying, "How do we beat Gonzaga?"
Exactly.
Tim, any final thoughts, questions for Akeem before we let him get back to the real important stuff?
Certainly. I mean, as long as I get a chance to talk to Akeem, I'm going to keep asking questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
As I read a lot of social media, I read the landscape of college basketball. Ken Palm says that Michigan is rated as a favorite in every single game the rest of the year. Ken Palm, #1 defense overall, #1 in net rating. Torvik, #1 in the country. I mean, it goes on and on. How do you keep your players focused on Maryland instead of all of the platitudes that are sent your way from every different direction?
That's what Dusty always talks about, the innocent climb. Like, we want to climb this thing innocent, from Wake Forest to TCU. We want to make a innocent climb, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to block out all the noise. We do a lot of stuff together. I think last weekend or weekend before we went bowling. So we try to keep this team together as much as possible so we can block out the outside noise. Because, even with our guys scoring 9, 8 points, it's going to be people that love them that's going to tell them, man, you should shoot more. But that necessarily this game, that may not be for you. So we're just going to try to block out all the noise, keep our guys together, especially on this break. So we'll do more stuff together on this break and kind of go from there. And it's a blessing too, honestly, to go on the road because you're with your teammates. You're going to be together anyway. So we're just living game by game. They're getting a lot of notoriety and a lot of tweets and Instagram, but we want to play game by game and keep getting better and keep growing. Like, it's some stuff from this game that we have to get better at.
You can't leave us hanging with that. Who's the best bowler on the team? Got to find that out.
I can't believe Yaxel. I'm gonna say Yaxel. Yeah, Yaxel is pretty good.
What did you put up?
LJ, I think it was like 185, and that was the first time we bowled. We usually go a couple times a year. LJ's pretty good. Coach Drew is pretty good. Will Cheddar bowls like how he plays.
I would imagine they
4
did
different
not.
lanes.
Yes, throwing the ball everywhere.
I would imagine they didn't have size 18 bowling shoes for a die. Is that true?
No, that was he probably bowls how he plays, throwing it between the legs. Yeah. So Yaxel was pretty good. LJ was, I think it went Yaxel, Coach Drew, and LJ. So they were the best three.
Akeem, if you ever need a ringer, I think the only other person who knows this on the team is Will.
Will, I know this. You told me this.
Yeah. If you ever need a ringer, need somebody to come in and you want to get a little extra.
We may have to do a staff versus team and just bring you in, sub you in. Good hitter.
Let me warm up a little bit. It's been a while. That was the peak of my athletic career. All right, Akeem. Can't thank you enough for taking out as much time as you did. I'll tell you, Tim, how locked in Akeem is. Akeem and I will do a little back bump after every win. We didn't even do it today. That's how locked in. So I'll get you back Saturday night in Maryland. All right.
We gotta get to the next one. So
lock it
Good
in.
luck.
All right, Akeem. Appreciate you, buddy. There's Akeem Miskdeen. Tim, I mean, obviously, I'm way far in the forest sometimes to see the trees, but it's tough not to be impressed with the staff, with what Dusty's built. And you just see it in that camaraderie and how they look at things so uniquely, not just in terms of the basketball, but the relationship building, all of it. You've been around practices, you know how challenging that can be. How have you seen the fullness, the culture of the program come together?
Well, Brian, I get the privilege of broadcasting college basketball games, and this last weekend I had Princeton at Loyola. And when you talk to the coaches and when you talk to the players, NIL is such an obvious distraction for everybody. Family members want guys to get up a lot of shots because they know that translates into more NIL money. And there are just so many ramifications that come along with that. And I just get the sense, and I've been watching very close, that Michigan's guys feel like they're locked into winning games. I talked to Roddy Gale the other day, and I said, how do you go into Las Vegas and stay focused on just the basketball, not think about the extra $1 million that you could win. I think I would be distracted by that. And he said, you know what? I used it as a tool to make sure I was ready to go. Like, not only am I excited to play basketball, but I'm going to get hooked up and get some extra money too. And he likened it to the NBA Emirates Cup, where the players are excited to play on a cool court and a different environment, and they're going to get some extra cash if they win. And it doesn't go any further than that. But in a long season that lasts 4 months, any extra motivation you can get is a good thing. And this team is mature. They come from winning programs, and I just love where they're at. I don't see them losing anytime soon, and I say that with a lot of confidence.
I loved the quote along those lines Dusty had on Monday in his press conference. When you defend and rebound like we are right now, it alleviates any stress or pressure on your shots. If you have such a likelihood that you are going to deliver a stop on the other end, like that, it really does open up that, and the fact that you've got 8 other guys in this rotation who can go out and get a bucket or make a big play and set up an easy basket. No?
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And I mentioned my game Saturday. Drew Valentine is a guy that knows Big Ten basketball really well, and at shoot around before the contest, he said to his guys, don't let your offense affect your defense. And when you dig a little bit deeper on that, what he's saying is, if you miss a shot, if you have a careless turnover, whatever happens on the offensive end, don't hang your head and let it affect your defense. If you play defense, any mistakes you make on offense, any miscues on offense, it don't matter, because you're going to get a stop and probably play in transition. And I think that's something that this Michigan team is really good at. I haven't seen anybody frustrated with missed threes or turnovers, even though they don't miss many and make many mistakes right now.
So looking ahead, first off, just overall takeaways on what else is around college basketball, around the Big Ten. For as impressive as Michigan has looked, Duke's resume, outstanding. Obviously, we'll get to see the Wolverines and the Blue Devils in Washington, D.C. toward the tail end of the regular season. What Arizona did to Auburn, similar to what Michigan did. Iowa State went to Mackey and won by 20 plus. I mean, there are some real big-time teams who have put up some impressive performances. Who else has caught your eye? What storylines are you curious about, kind of measuring Michigan against some of the heavyweights in the league or nationally?
Yeah, so I'm really impressed with Michigan State. I watched the Duke game. I've seen them play 4 or 5 times. I didn't expect them to be anywhere near as good. They clearly are. St. John's plays really hard. UConn, Florida, really great championship pedigree. The SEC is going to put out a lot of talented teams, but the other part of it, as you look at the landscape of college basketball, is there are a lot of teams that are struggling mightily with their transfers. Guys that came in that received a lot of money, that were asked to play a certain role, they're not fitting in. Look at Kentucky, what a mess that is. And so I think that the Big Ten is going to be an immense challenge this year. Right now, there are 8 teams in the net rating that are top 50. So that means everywhere that you're going, you're playing somebody that is very talented and can knock you off. That's going to make Michigan a lot better. I believe that's going to make them better than beating Gonzaga by 40 points. And Brian, I mean, you're sitting courtside, so you see it too. These games are boring. They're not competitive. It's varsity versus JV. It's a monumental mismatch, and Michigan's having fun and they're impressed with themselves. But I want to see them tied at 60. I think that they probably learned a lot more against Wake Forest and TCU than they did against San Diego State and Gonzaga. That's how you get better.
And it's easy to play the schedule game and look, and yes, Michigan has their Big Ten schedule tends to be a little bit more backloaded from what we see right now. Who knows? I think the TCU example is a great one. Michigan barely got a win in Fort Worth. Look what TCU did a couple weeks later, they beat Florida and Wisconsin in their Thanksgiving MTE. Now, that does not guarantee anything, down the road for TCU. They're going to play in the Big 12. That league is as loaded as the Big 10. But I do think I'll be really curious how Michigan comes in Saturday at Maryland. We were talking about it a little bit on the broadcast, a unique calendar. Students are still there. Their final exams are next week. We were there for a game. I think it was Hunter Dickinson's junior and final season at Michigan, where I was thinking that it was going to be a big, student section. It was like January 19th, and the students were still gone. They don't go back to school at Maryland until like late January. So they're going to be students there. Obviously, year one under Buzz Williams. But what happens if you get punched in the mouth? Maryland will probably be a little bit more jumping than TCU, which is a smaller venue, wasn't quite sold out. That was Friday night in high school football playoff time in Texas. So that was genuinely a concern for their attendance down there. But if you do get punched in the mouth, how do you respond? How do you bounce back? Michigan has the capability, but like anything else, you want to see them do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I broadcast the game in, I would estimate, 100 different college arenas over the course of my career. Maryland was the most toxic environment of any place that I've ever broadcast. Their fans are rude, they're crass, they're obscene, and I think it's going to be an eye-opener for a lot of Michigan players. I was shocked that in tonight's game, Michigan was favored by close to 21 points against a perennial power like Villanova. Villanova had won 7 of 8 games. They've got some really good players. I like their coach, but it was not even a close game. Saturday will be a close game. I think Michigan will win. I think they'll win between 10 and 15 points, but that will be a step because it's going to be a competitive game for sure. And Michigan will not go in there and play their B game and walk away with a comfortable victory. It's not going to happen.
Before we let you go, and we've got about 83 live listeners for what is a very new project here, which shows you how well Michigan basketball is playing, but also how great this fan base is. So thanks to those watching live. If you're watching archive, join us after every home Michigan victory, and we'll also do some postseason stuff as well. Only one we won't do it is because of the holiday break coming up on the 21st. So the LaSalle game, we won't do it. But if you're looking for more Michigan basketball talk, I know, Tim, you've got an exciting new project. Why don't you tell fans about what you've been doing and some of the great conversations you've already had?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking. The Go Blue Hoops podcast is in week number 5. Tomorrow we're launching our 5th episode, and Yaxel Lendeberg is going to be our guest. Guest number 1 was Cassie Russell, Glenn Rice, Gary Grant, and Duncan Robinson. So we've had some really good guests. I provide commentary, what I see, what I think, and then we have a really in-depth interview. And it's not just asking them about who's your toughest guy to play against. We kind of explore where they've been, some of the challenges of their journey, and it's really been a positive. So thank you once again. It's Go Blue Hoops, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, Go Blue Hoops with Tim McCormick, and I think it was youthful exuberance was what Dusty May said about Yaxel Lendeborg. I mean, it jumps off the screen, the microphone when you're talking to him, being around him. For a guy who, Dusty was talking about it with us on the radio show on Monday night. I mean, literally, Yaxel he had a very short video of his skill set, and a JUCO in Arizona found him because they needed a big man. And now look at him. He's the best player on the best team in the country. It's amazing what can happen with some hard work and right place, right time, huh?
His story is fascinating, and I'm excited to find out more. I'm going to dig a little bit and find out some good scoops. So I hope you can listen too.
I will, no doubt about it. Well, Tim, can't thank you enough for doing this. Obviously, great to visit with Akeem Miskdeen as well. Really, really good stuff. So, Tim, we'll do this again. We'll get you back on here, and yeah, check out Go Blue Hoops with Yax coming up this week. Any final thoughts, Tim?
No, I just I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. You and Terry do a wonderful job, and this could be something really exciting. And I think that I can't think of a better time to start something like this, right? The team's 9-0, number 1 in the country. There's going to be a lot of interest.
100%. All right, Tim. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to our buddy Josh Stoller for all of his work in organizing it. Again, nothing for LaSalle. We're going to let the assistant coaches get off for a few days. That will be the one time they'll take a little bit of a respite before the stretch run after the calendar flip. But we'll be back with plenty more here on the Michigan Athletics YouTube channel. And join us along the radio network, 8 o'clock for Michigan and Maryland on Saturday. For Tim McCormick, I'm Brian Bush. Thanks as always for watching, and go Blue.